Sawadee Krap. Welcome to beautiful Thailand. And in Thailand, when we go around Thailand, we will find these beautiful beaches, beautiful people. We will find these lavish temples and often find reclining Buddha temples as well. And so with me, we are privileged to have Pastor Judah. And Pastor Judah is the stream leader, but also country leader for Thailand. And so in the midst of all this beauty, Pastor Judah, that we do find in Thailand, at the same time we find, in contrast, we find the reality that although Thailand is called the land of the free, in reality we see so many people who are caught up in bondage. The reality of the sex trade and human trafficking and drug abuse and alcohol abuse that we find in Thailand, knowing that the average Thai is actually so caught up in bondage. And so for the last 2 weeks, myself and Pastor Judah, we were on a mission to mobilize the local church in Thailand. And the reason for that is because we believe that the church is the hope for Thailand. In reality, about 14 million tourists flock to Thailand just because of this beautiful country. But we have also seen at the same time the great need for the church to grow in this country. And so over the last 192 years, we have seen the church grow from a mere 5 churches, where today we have over 6,000 churches. But with that also comes the reality that the church is not growing fast enough, because only 6% of all the villages in Thailand have been reached with the gospel. And that means that over 80,000 villages are still considered unreached. And so really over the last 2 weeks, we've had conversations with various leaders, pastors from the Lahu ethnic minority groups, pastors from the Akar ethnic minority groups, the Lisu, the Wa, so many different leaders that we got to speak to. And so as we got to speak to them about Harvesters Ministries and the church planting methodology, Pastor Judah, it was interesting to realize that many of them have been used to a certain way of doing ministry. And as we have introduced Harvesters Ministries and the methodology, to their surprise, often they gave the same answer. Would you maybe like to elaborate a little bit on that?
Sawadee Krap. Yes, there are many pastors, many people. They excited to hear what we share to them. So, because for many years in Thailand, the Christians, or especially ministers in Thailand, they doing ministry the same way and the old way, But when we share about our harvester ministry, many people are excited to find out the new way to do ministry.
And so that's what we've been doing over the last 2 weeks. But right now, we find ourselves in Surat Thani, which is in the southern provinces and southern region of Thailand. And so the reason why we came here is because, in Harvesters, we are very strategic in what we do. And so when we look at this region, we see that the majority of the 4 million Muslims that find themselves in Thailand are actually located in the southern provinces of Thailand. And so in Thailand, there are 2,100 mosques you will find in the bordering provinces between Thailand and Malaysia. And so really our focus for coming to this part of Thailand is to see how we can mobilize the church, because often when we speak to different leaders, we speak to the Lahu leaders, their heart would always be for the Lahu people, because they can speak the language and understand the culture. The Wa people will reach out to the La people. And so when we came here today, it was trying to have a meeting and to mobilize the church in Surat Thani and neighboring provinces to reach those people who are still considered unreached. And so, Pastor Judah, how do you think will the church respond to reach out to a religion which is the second largest religion in Thailand? How do you think the church will take up this challenge?
I think if our ministry, Harvester Ministry, when you come and we start to our training, so I believe that many pastors, even new tribe people, many of them they can understand, they can open heart, and they can start to learning from you, because Harvester Ministry, you will come to be partner, so will help many ministers here to understand, to learn new things, to learn the new way to do ministry. And I hope in the future, like a huge Thai people like me, because I can speak Thai, if God open the door for us, we can down to town or city, and we can do ministry with Thai people or Islam people. I hope that.
And so really our heart is to see the indigenous church take up the responsibility to reach their own people. And so as we do that, we're excited to see what God is doing and going to do in a beautiful country like Thailand. And so greetings from Thailand. Thank you for your prayer and your support. And khap kun khap.
Khop kun krap.